What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Simply Satisfied. My name is Greg, and I am your host. And today I am joined by Dr. G. Now, Dr. G, he is a dedicated healer. He considers his work a sacred mission serving the divine. He consults, he heals, and he nurtures his clients from all over the globe online. And his work combines his very, very, very vast background, which you guys are going to hear about today, and it is delivered online using the quantum field. And it is amazing. And over the decades, he has become a master of that ability. Welcome to the show, Dr. G.
Thank you so much, Greg. Happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. So, listen, I want to know more about, we talked a little bit about it beforehand, but the kind of what led you to your ability to deliver to people all over the globe using the quantum field.
So the question is specifically what led me to be able to do distance healing? Is that what you mean?
Correct. Well, yeah. Before we dive into that, what is distance healing, Dr. G?
Healing at a distance. Distance healing mean? All distance healing means is, because distance is a misnomer. There's actually no such thing as distance. If we wanted to go to sheer reality, but that's a different. See, everything we understand depends on perspective. Perspective depends on education and the level of consciousness using the education. So distance healing, let's say where are you now, Greg?
I am in the Chicago area.
So he's in Chicago, folks, and I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And let's say Greg has a headache and he calls me up and he wants me to get rid of the headache. It only take me about 30 seconds, 1 minute. And all I do is connect directly to Greg. And then I'm going to change the pressure and everything in his head, whatever's causing the headache. And I will remove that. I remove it energetically. And I'm able to do that because I have empowerment through India. I have empowerments through Tibet. I have empowerments through Japan. What is an empowerment? I don't want you to think that gives me some kind of power. I don't have any kind of power. I'm a transmitter. I'm like back in the old days when I was a kid, when you called on the telephone, you dial up on the telephone and there's an operator, and then the operator connects you to, connects you so you can talk to the other person. I'm like an operator. So an empowerment means I've gone through a process under a great master. I never learned anything except from great masters. So you study as an apprentice under a great master, and at a certain point when you're ready, they'll give you an empowerment. Now, if you ever read some of the literature of a great scientist named William Tiller, who was on tenure at Stanford University, he wrote a couple of books, and in there he'll describe what an empowerment means. That energetically, an empowerment changes my internal, we call pranayama, the energy body, the subtle energy body, so that I can transmit heavy or very strong frequencies. All Reiki people, Reiki masters, I'm a Tibetan Reiki master, they have to go through that process so that when they're transmitting Reiki, the Reiki comes into them, through them, and out their hands into their client. If their nervous system and their chakra, meridian, acupuncture system, nadi system has not been changed to carry those heavy frequencies, it'll hurt the Reiki person. It can destroy the Reiki person if they're not properly conditioned. It's very dangerous stuff. Oh, yeah. If you ever want to see how dangerous energy is, pick up the book called Kundalini by Gopi Krishna. Gopi Krishna was a young man in India. I think he was about, I don't know, 19, 20 years old. And unfortunately, the Kundalini rose while he was meditating. The problem is it rose the wrong way before he was ready. And it almost killed him. He was crippled, on and off the rest of his entire life. He said he searched the entire globe trying to find anybody that could help him or heal him. Nobody could.
Yeah.
And that's because the energy, it is not, energy work is not children's play. So anyway, I have these empowerments and I'm conditioned, and I just connect up to Greg and I remove the headache. So Greg can be there in Chicago. He could be on Mars. It doesn't make any difference at all. Distance doesn't mean nothing. All distance healers are the same. They just are connecting, and then depending on how accurate they are and how clear they are, and what kind of empowerment they have, or what they're transmitting, they can help change physiology, change anything. Because we're working, like in my case, I work straight at the causal level in
Yeah.
your subconscious.
Yeah. Now, how
Is
did
that
Dr. G?
I answer that question?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how did you get into this?
So I was born specifically for my work, and I knew that by about the age of 3. How do we know that? Around the age of 3, all the way up until I was 6, when my big wound happened at the age of 6, because I was the oldest son, first son of my mom and dad. Okay, about the age of 3, dad, they used to buy me a big Bristol boards so I could
Yeah.
draw,
Okay.
and I always drew the same thing. It was a enormous flying saucer that I was going to build when I grew up. And flying saucer was going to be Noah's Ark. And the Noah's Ark was going to carry all the people and in quotations, all the animals too, and take them, everybody, to a planet where there was no war.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a sort of a strange thing, and I used to draw it in great detail. That's a sort of a strange thing for a 3-year-old to have real clear in his mind. And so I was born for that. Now, nowadays, at this many decades later, I can work morphic field physics. What does that mean? I was born to help collectives. I can help up to 20, if you want the truth, I can handle up to 20,000 people at one time. And now what do I mean by that? If you give me 20,000 people, and let's say I want to clear one specific, so there's a specific question to the 20,000, do I have a fear of failure? Fear of failure. All the people in the 20,000 would say at the same time, they ask the question, do I have a fear of failure? Just like if there was 20,000 laptop computers and everyone types in all the different languages of the earth to Google search engine, do I have a fear of failure? And Google brings in a answer. It's just like AI. This is just like AI. So what happens is the consciousness in the subconscious is the database, is the software. The answer comes. Whatever the answer shows, I am able to access the cloud, the collective cloud of all the 20,000. And I
Okay.
will disassemble and clear that using destructive and constructive interference waves in the cloud. Now, the
Yeah.
cloud is a feed forward, feed backward system. That's why you can upload and you can download. When I operate in the cloud, it feeds back to all the individual 20,000, and it's changed.
Yeah.
I'm able to do that. So my original reason, I hear an echo. Do you hear an echo?
Uh,
It's gone now, but it was there for a second. So anyway, my original reason to come to Earth is now realized,
mhm,
and my empowerments through the divine, through the Param Jyoti, I am increased daily, weekly, and then monthly. Empowerment going more and more and more and more and more. So my work, the depth healing technology is what I call, as this system is called. It becomes more profound, more deep. Till now, at this point, what I call depth healing technology, it's a pathway of power
mhm.
because of the results that we can achieve here.
Yeah.
Does
And
that
so
make sense?
yeah. And so you took from the age of 3, been on this path, right? Now you went to school to be a doctor, didn't you?
Oh yeah, when I was way up in my 40s, about nearly 50 years old. I'm a martial specialist first and foremost, folks. My pathway, I failed grade 1, and after I failed grade 1, my mom and dad, my dad especially, didn't know how to handle that emotionally, and the family abandoned me emotionally for the rest of my life. When that wound occurred, it really blindsided me, and I was unseen and just I didn't know. I never understood what happened. Of course, now that happened at the age of 6. I'm still in subconscious, but the thinking brain doesn't activate until you're 7.
Yeah.
So right at the end, right when my conscious brain is first going to activate, rejected in by my own family. Now I was the oldest son first, so I used to live from the time I was conceived until that moment at the school. And I was the exalted, beloved, cherished boy, and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden everything flips. So, um, and that was a good thing. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be sitting here. But I didn't know that at the time. So I noticed since I didn't have a father. I couldn't relate with my dad. My dad was a great man. He was a real tough, hardcore Polak from Polish immigrants. And if you want to think of my dad, you just think of Charles Bronson, because
Okay.
he was a boxer in World War II, and he was as tough as nails.
Yeah.
But emotionally, Pop wasn't an advanced man.
Okay.
So anyway, and of course, I was a mystics. All of my propensity is mysticism, and always has been. So what happened was I noticed on the movies that, and if you read my bio, you see I list many of the great actors that went into forming me. I noticed that the guy that everyone loved or respected was the fighters. So I became a fighter. By grade 8, I could knock the hell out of anybody in the school, and nobody ever beat me since. Um, so I became a fighter, and by the age of 13, I was training very heavily martial arts, and
Yeah.
by 18, I was a professional. Now, when I say professional, I mean samurai, real samurai education. I don't mean sports or the guys that wear pajamas and kick watermelons and stuff like that. I'm a real martial artist.
Okay.
I put in 50,000 hours in Yoshinkai Aikido alone, and
Mhm.
then I served as uchideshi. All of my life was for service. I was born for service, and that's the way I live. That's the way I'll die. Everything is for service. So when I trained, I didn't train to get a trophy or some kind of thing like that. I served the craft. And then I went on. That led me through a whole series of massive um, injuries because I was filled with rage and anger. I never understood what happened when I turned 6. So I became a real hardcore tough boy and filled with anger. And I broke my back in half at the age of 27 weightlifting. That took 3 years to heal. No operations. And what I did was I learned self-healing and met the great master, the founder of applied kinesiology, George Goodhart Jr. Well, I was with George for like 16 years. And then I broke my knees, the cartilages in half, and then the surgeon that operated on my left knee back then, he crippled me. He was a moron. And that nearly took 3 years. So I had to find, I found or was introduced to these great, great, great master doctors. Gary Kepler, George Goodhart, all the big applied kinesiologists. And I was studying about healing from them
Okay.
because it took so long to heal me. And so my pathway is I train 5-6 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's why I got hurt so bad. I never rested. Really stupid. But it led me to all these various great doctors and healers. So I was learning my martial craft at the same time I was learning healing, self-healing. And that's part of the pathway. And then I moved to, I had a huge awakening in 1991, an experience of an enlightened state. And when I came down from that, my life changed instantly. And I left Canada within a couple of months and I moved to California. And there I met the great Sufi master, Maulana Sheikh Nazim, the greatest spiritual human being that I've ever met in person.
That was in
And
California.
there I learned really heavy duty, what real spiritual power actually looks like. And I was able, because he did a little prayer for me within, I had no home. I only had a bicycle, very, very poor, living in Silicon Valley. And I met that great master. He prayed for me. And 1 week later, a stranger, came and gave me $40,000. And I built the Dosatsu Ken Dojo just down the road from Nassau and Moffett Field over in Mountain View, California. And there, when I got that blessing, that's where I taught the United States, all branches of the military, some scientists from NASA, all the Silicon Valley execs. And my dojo became the center of the Sufi community for the Silicon Valley. And that was a big growth period through the 1990s until the year 2000. And then right in January 2000, the landlord died. And his son illegally broke my lease, came in and took everything I had. And I was instantaneously demoted to being a homeless person because I lived in the dojo. And that knocked me hard. And it took me, I lost my path and I was lost my connection with my divine for the first time. And it took me nearly 20 years to get that back. And then during that time, I went into this real rage. And I got enough rage that it eventually gave me breast cancer on the right side. And I had that cut out of me nice and clean from anger. If you understand what epigenetics is, I had a little pocket of fat there on my chest since I was a boy. And through epigenetics, with the rage, it transformed that little, and it's on the right side of the body, which means the future. And right side is the future, left side is the past. And it transformed the little pocket of fat into a slow growing estrogen cancer. So that was my signal. That was, I cut that out of me just before I moved to Thailand here. So that was a signal where um, I had to let go of that anger. And by that time, luckily, I was with the divine, Shriyama Bhagavan. I was a Reiki master, and I was clearing most of my cognitive dissonance with my great master that taught me the quantum field, Larry
Yeah.
Habersky, in Atlanta, Georgia, because that's where I used to live in Atlanta. Not Atlanta, we lived in Beaufort. But anyway, that was a transition. And now, there's very little anger left in me now because the divine removes it. Most of my triggers are gone, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And my inner dialogue is all transformed now. My inner dialogue was when I finally got enough consciousness to watch it, was amazing how angry it was. Just unbelievable how angry. But it's all gone now. That's from
Mhm.
that's from the divine. I work with the divine, in conjunction with the divine, and for the divine. That's what I do in my life.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, Dr. G, you talk a lot about epigenetics and cognitive dissonance. For everybody listening, can you explain a little bit about epigenetics and cognitive dissonance?
Absolutely. Those are two things you really should understand. Cognitive dissonance is the entire problem, almost the entire problem, in a nutshell, for all of humanity. So, you go on, let's say you go on Instagram. I like Instagram because of the pictures. I don't do anything with social media or nothing. I have an administrator that does that stuff. So anyway, I like looking at the pictures, and I have some of the nice teachers that I respect. They'll be on there. So let's say you see somebody like Greg Braden, for instance, and he'll say, you can change your reality by changing your mind. And if you, what you need to do is stop thinking negatively and just focus on good things. Well, that's true. That's all true. No, it'll never work. And why doesn't it work? It's not that it'll never work, but most of the time it won't work. If it did work, everybody that goes to see a Tony Robbins seminar would now be a millionaire. And everybody that watched Bob Proctor would be a millionaire. And everybody that watches John Assaraf would be a millionaire. By the way, Assaraf is one of the best because he understands cognitive neurology. Anyway, the reason is cognitive dissonance. So what is it? You have to understand the ratio of the mind in the mind, and you have to understand yourself as a biocomputer, because fundamentally we are all biocomputers. Okay. Now, the subconscious mind is running everything for you right now. Whoever's watching this, everything that you perceive, how you hear what I say, everything, it's all from your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
That is your software. That software was formed in the subconscious mind, processing 40 million bits of information per second, 24/7, 24/7, 40 million bits of information per second. And there's another school of thought now, up to 4 billion bits of information per second, based on the amount of neurons in a human brain.
Wow.
Now, the frontal cortex is only active. That's where you think. It's only active 1 to 5% of an entire day. A lot of people, it's not active at all. And it only processes 40 bits of information a second. So 40 to 40 million.
Jeez.
So if there is a imprint, a download, a program in the subconscious that says you cannot walk to the right, and you go through school and you got 3 PhDs and you got this big plan that says I'm going to walk to the left. You'll never walk to the left. You'll start walking, and the next thing you know, you won't be walking that way anymore, and you'll be going to the right. It'll stop you. It'll self-sabotage, or it'll just cancel it. It's because of the ratio. The negative program that says you can't go that way has 1 million, and the program with the PhD only has one. A 1 to 1 million ratio. Now, when you see someone going to Tony Robbins, they get all ramped up and they've got their plans and everything, and it works. What does that mean? Well, that means there wasn't any cognitive dissonance blocking them. And all of the millions of people who do those seminars, I was one of them for 30 years, never got anywhere, couldn't make 10 cents because I had tons of cognitive dissonance against money and lack. See, my dad was a Polak that was born during the Great Depression from Polish immigrants that had come in from Poland and couldn't speak English. So they lived with nothing. So my dad was a well-educated electrician for Ford's. He had a tremendous fear of lack, and that's all he knew, and that's all his consciousness was. And that was all programmed into me. See, your subconscious begins, in my model from mysticism, it begins at conception. If you look at a modern medical science model, like someone like Bruce Lipton, bless his heart, I love Bruce Lipton, he'll say around the third trimester. But your personal subconscious begins there, and it's recording up until the age of 7 at 40 million bits per second, and none of that information belongs to you. None of it. It belongs to the environment and your parents and where you live. Why? Why are we designed like that? Survival. If you're a child born on the Amazon Delta in a hut, you need a very different software program from a kid that's born on in a multi-million-dollar flat in Manhattan, New York. So when this brain, what I call the educated brain, activates, it needs a great deal of information. So by the age of 7, you have approximately 10 quadrillion bits of information with which to navigate life, okay? So that's cognitive dissonance. Now, epigenetics genetics doesn't mean nothing. Please, if you're taking notes, write that down. Genetics means nothing. And that's a fact. This is peer-reviewed science. Epigenetics means everything. Epigenetics is my world, is the energy world. It's perception. So let's say you got a cell here. And when we were all little kids, depending on who's watching, they used to say, and unfortunately in some places in the world, they're still telling kids that the nucleus is the brain. It's not. Nucleus is where all the genes are. It's think of it like a library.
Okay.
The brain of the cell is the membrane. Now on the membrane, the surface of the cell, there's millions and millions of little doorways. We call them receptor sites, and they got little antennas. The little antennas picking up frequency signals. A neurotransmitter is a frequency. A hormone is everything is a frequency. Whether you're looking at it molecularly or whether you're looking at it with special instruments, it's all frequencies, okay? So all these little doorways have their particular little antenna looking for signals. And depending on the signal, if this signal is love, umpteen types of doorways open up. They're happy. And then that nice happy signal goes down into the nucleus, into the library. And if it has enough consistency, it'll open up one of the books, one of the genes.
Yeah.
Every gene has something like 21,000 choices. 21,000, something like that. I'm no good with numbers, but it's a lot of choices.
Yeah.
So if the signal is consistent enough with love, it opens up the book that says, we're real happy. We'll express strength, power, pair, all the nice things. But if the signal, like me, 30 years of rage, is that signal's going in, all of the doorways on the cell membrane for love are closed.
Yeah.
And all the doorways for hate and anger frequencies are open. And if that's going in all the time, it opens up a different book or the same book to a different page that says, I'm going to develop cancer. So this guy understands that he's angry all the time. So I'll make a cancer, and I'm going to make the cancer in an area of the body that helps him understand the message. So if it has to do with future stress and worry and fear,
Yeah.
we'll put it on the right side of his body. If it has to do with responsibility, we'll do something with his arm and his shoulder. If it has something to do with security and stability, we'll put something in his back and down in his legs. If it's a lot of anger, we'll hit the liver. If it's a lot of grief, we'll manifest in the lungs. Body toxin symbolism. See, you have to, as a healer, you got to understand the symbolism. And so the epigenetics is the signal. The signal needs frequency, duration, and intensity of the stimulus in order to start a response. Epigenetics doesn't happen real fast. When I went to become a doctor, I hated what I saw so badly because the pharmaceutical companies have bought out the chiropractic colleges, and everything it's just so anyway, I couldn't stand what I saw. So epigenetically over, 2 decades, I developed such thick cataracts, I was functionally blind and had to have my cataracts removed so I can see now. But for a little while there, you could put a semi right in front of me. I couldn't see it till it was
Really?
radar. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty bad. So that's epigenetics, and that controls genetics. Always remember, you have the same number of genes as a worm. That's a fact. An earthworm that you put on the hook to catch a fish,
Yeah.
same number of genes. The difference is our genes have so many, nobody even knows what the 21,000 options are. That's why a human being has such enormous potential. We have no clue what those things are, what that is. That's where guys like Dr. Dispenza, with his research, they make tremendous discoveries that way. It was Bruce Lipton who first discovered epigenetics.
Yeah.
And epigenetics means, remember this, your life, happy, sad, good, bad, whatever it is, the people in your life, everything, goes by perception. Perception gives you the vibration, and then by the law of resonance, the universe matches that.
Mhm.
And your perception is completely dependent on your subconscious mind. That's why depth healing works, and that's why these guys that give you nice affirmations or just say you just do this or without knocking out cognitive dissonance, you can hear that stuff till hell freezes over. Nothing's going to happen. Soon as you knock out the cognitive like when I knocked out cognitive dissonance, I am not a poor man anymore. I'm not poor at all. I live a unbelievable life now, but I lived a very frustrated, angry life for many years. And I know all of the success seminars. I did them
Yeah.
all for 30 years.
Yeah.
The cognitive dissonance blocked me. And I didn't know that. Larry Hablinsky taught me that.
Now, Dr. G, I have a very important question. This is like everybody listening. I'm going to tell you right now, this is more for me than anybody else. How do you, how do you, how does one knock out cognitive dissonance?
Oh, sure. Okay. So that's the nature of my work. So first you have to understand destructive and constructive interference waves, which is my fundamental tool. And if you go on Google, you can see lots of nice um, information on destructive and constructive interference waves. So long story short, destructive interference waves mean this thing over here has a particular frequency, and we'll represent that by a sine wave. And depending on how fast this thing is vibrating, it has a particular wave pattern. A destructive interference wave meets it. What does that mean? If this one is going up, the destructive interference wave is going down. They're
Okay.
opposites.
Okay.
When they meet each other, they cancel to zero. They cancel to zero. Constructive interference waves are exactly the opposite. They're in phase, they're exactly together, and when they meet, they magnify.
Hmm.
Okay? Now, let's see, what's a simple example for cognitive dissonance? Let's take a financial ceiling. So let's say I got a client and they're an entrepreneur and they started out with nothing and now they're making $30,000 every 6 months,
Hmm.
like 30,000. They want 100,000. They've been doing everything, taking Tony Robbins, and they got they got everybody, but 30,000 is it for some reason. So they give me a call. So I go into the subconscious mind to find out why, and we finally figure it out, where it came from, the exact age that the original download first began, let's say at the age of 3. And let's say on an arbitrary scale of 0 to 10, the original first download that started to create this cognitive dissonance at the age of 3 was like a 5 out of 10, very strong.
Yeah.
So I go in and I start to disassemble that. So when I'm disassembling it, I'm matching the exact frequency necessary to take that download from a 5 to a 4. His mind, my client's mind and subconscious will show me what the frequencies are. I don't choose anything. So
Hmm.
everything I'm doing in depth healing is entirely client based. Okay, you have to understand that I don't make any decisions. I just find what the frequency. So I knock it down from a 5 to a 4. And what I'm doing there in that process, I'm knocking out not just the original download, whatever they heard, saw, or whatever it was. I'm knocking out all of the entanglements that show up in their consciousness relative to the questions we're asking. So, and what we're asking is what will take this download and disassemble it to a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1. So I'm tearing down.
Yeah.
Now, every single time I do a tear down, I then ask the field, his field, meaning his consciousness, what is the constructive frequency needed to replace that? Because remember, the universe doesn't allow gaps. If something is taken down, something has got to fill in. If I don't fill it in with a constructive interference wave, something else will go in there that we may not want. Okay, you understand? And on top of that, this is another subject, but there are entities and there's a whole unseen world that you have to, when you're in my kind of position, you have to deal with. So to protect the client, anything can go in there. So I tear down, I'm disassembling, and I'm building. Disassembling, building, disassembling, building. What am I building? Their brain, their consciousness, their neural nets are always, every single time, reorganizing and magnifying. Reorganizing and magnifying. Finally, I get down to zero and I have them ask the question, what will completely erase that download from my consciousness? And then I erase it. When I erase it, it's gone, done, period. When that occurs, their frequency that was being raised. Now they were here. Let's say this is a negative frequency. The negative frequency by resonance is giving them either the bad health or the blockage with this financial ceiling or whatever. Now that's gone. So the universe says, all the universe will ever say is okay. Always remember that. Universe only has one word, okay. That's all. The divine does all kinds of manipulation, but the universal intelligence, the big boy,
Yeah.
all it says is okay.
One word.
That's all. So I tear that down. Now, he started this financial ceiling download at the age of 3. So I trace it in a linear fashion, every single download he ever made until the age of 7, when the frontal cortex engages. Once I do that, that financial ceiling of 30,000 has no foundation anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The foundation's gone. Then I come up to present day. Let's say he's 40 years old. I come up to present day at 40 years old and we ask the question, right now, is there any active program anywhere in my consciousness on any level that is creating or supporting a financial ceiling of 30,000? And if I get yes, I tear it down and eliminate it. Once I do that, everything he learned from Tony Robbins and John Assaraf works. And that's what I do.
Wow.
But you gotta, this is surgical work. So I need surgical precision. And that's what's taken me so many decades to develop. If you're dealing with psychics are wonderful, but most psychics have absolutely no control over what they see or feel, nor do they know who they're talking to. If they're talking to the other side, they don't know who it is. There's all kind. There's an infinite number of levels, layers, entity, everything. I in my case, after many, I've done everything from Wiccan to every kind of spiritual path you can sing, till I finally am with the great compassionate light itself, and that's who I take my information from. And see, when I do sessions, I channel, so I turn everything over to the divine right at the beginning of the session, because many of the problems that I deal with, I have absolutely no idea how to do that. They guide me right through. I wouldn't have a clue how to do it. And I don't retain memories after I do my sessions, because I have to be able to shift fluidly between people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. I mean, the whole tie between cognitive dissonance and kind of the blocks that people have, you know, uh, and your journey. I mean, you said 30 years of rage, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, of rage, absolutely. I
30
mean,
years
real
of
rage.
rage. Yeah. It's a wonder. How many people do you think, and it could be everybody, but how many people do you think are walking around with this cognitive dissonance?
99.99999. Depends on what area of their life. You can have no cognitive dissonance for business whatsoever and have a hell of a lot of cognitive dissonance for personal intimacy with a
Yeah.
loved one.
Yeah.
So, human, human existence, that's why I call it depth healing. And I needed to live many different kinds of experience in life and so forth so that I can relate to people.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have empathy and I don't have experience, if life is not data, folks. I'm so concerned about AI. AI looks really great, but it's also the end of civilization. Life is not data. Life is life. You'll know that when you go to die. If you're not aware of what I'm talking about, you'll know it when you're going to die. That's a hell of a time to find it out, though. Some of you watching or listening may have come to a near-death experience where someone or something was going to kill you. Like if you, one of my old combat masters, Chuck Taylor, said, if you suddenly realize that right there's a rattlesnake, you didn't see him, and you're within striking distance of that snake, and he's looking at you. At that time, mortal fear, because you'll realize that thing can kill you.
Mhm.
And at that time, all of this jumbled mess and thinking just disappears.
Mhm.
And you realize your mortality. It means that the life force that animates the body temple is going to be taken away.
Mhm.
Like if you can't breathe. I've come very close to dying on several occasions from choking to death. Most horrible thing I ever, I trained all my life to be a noble warrior and die in battle and all that kind of stuff. And there you are, you're choking to death from a little piece of something stuck in your throat and you can't breathe. And it just fills you with so much fear. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, AI doesn't know any of that. AI is just a machine. So AI is nothing. It's just data. You have to animate the data.
Mhm.
So when I'm a real teacher, I'm a real martial artist, I'm a real everything. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I'd be too humiliated to put on some kind of an act. And I'm sure as hell not AI, but I can use AI physics. I do that in my collective sessions all the time. The only thing is I'm limited to one question. But what I really want to impress upon you is if you're all geared up with your AI, keep remembering that you use AI, don't be used by it. It's data. When you're dead, when you're dying, there won't be any data involved. There's no data anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, please understand. Please understand that. If you have data, if I tell you, let's say I want to drive a man's teeth through the back of his head with my fist, like Mike Tyson, you can read all about it and have all kinds of data. You can get the biggest AI computer in the world, and it can describe everything and what's going to happen. But it's very different than getting Mike Tyson punching you right in the mouth.
Correct. Yeah.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I love it. It's just data.
That's right. That's all it is. And then what you do with the data depends on your subconscious mind anyway, because I'll give you a simple example. Here. Let's have two men. One guy is born in Manhattan. He's born into a multi-million-dollar old money family, and his shoes cost $1,000, and his suits a few $1,000. And then we got Farmer Fudd over here. He's a real nice guy, let's say he's a pig farmer, and he's also got like a big crop of potatoes or something. So we find both of these guys standing in the field after a real big rain. He just plowed the field, so it's all mud. Pardon me. And it's after a rain. And they're both standing in the field. To the perception of the Manhattan boy, his beautiful shoes are ruined. There's pig manure all over the place, so he's thinking of E. coli and disease. There's flies. And the pig farmer, all he sees is a beautiful, fertile field, and envisions his crop coming up. And their two perceptions make completely different epigenetics. The Manhattan guy gets sick, goes to the hospital. Pig farmer never gets sick at all. Pig farmer is really happy at that time. Manhattan man is disgusted. It's all perception. So the data that is running through the computer system in Mr. Manhattan's brain, and the data being accessed by the farmer, is to be the same data, the perception completely different, because the subconscious mind is controlling the perception, the value system, the ethics, all of it. And then that gives them their realities. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So AI is not everything, folks.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
Now, Dr. G, we have talked about a lot of stuff. We have dove deep on a lot of different topics, but I've one last question for you.
Okay.
And that is, and I know you've been on this path since you were 3, right? But my question is, what is something that you wish you would have learned earlier in life?
That's a hell of a question. I don't know why that stumps me so much. What would I have liked to have learned? Well, I guess I'll go to a good practical thing that would be, do I have to answer only one, or can I give you 2?
As many answers as you want.
Well, for the first one, folks, is which took me until 2015 when I moved to Thailand. And I should have always known, but I never did it until 2015. And that is always save money. And save, it's really true. You always pay yourself first, and you take 10% of anything you get. When I go to an ATM machine and I take out some money, I take 10% of the money I took out, and I save that. Save. Always do that. That's so important. If I'd have done that, right now, I wouldn't just be living, I live really, because I'm in Thailand. If I was in America, I'd still be as poor as a church mouse compared to, because of the difference in money, eh? Over there, I feel sorry for you guys in America, but over here, money, I live like a king here. But
Yeah.
if I had known to save, and I actually did that, I would be such a wealthy man. That's one thing. Second thing is, now luckily, see, I grew up different than most people. I never read a newspaper in my life. I never watched the news in my life. And I was never socialized by nothing except great Japanese masters. And then that's the only thing I ever paid attention. I have 13 years of college, university. It's all worthless. The one of the things I wish, well, I did know, I'm going to advise you, always seek out great masters in whatever crafts or areas of life you are inspired, and learn, we call heart to heart, learn directly from a great man or lady,
Hmm.
and take that as your primary education method. I only use my academic stuff for titles. And the laugh of it is, all of those diplomas, you know where they are? They're in some tube somewhere in like the garage somewhere. Nobody
Yeah.
gives a damn about those things. You know
Yeah.
what I tell you right now, you can go online now and you can tell everybody that you have that you're a graduate of Yale University with and everyone goes, oh, is that? And they just, they just
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
learn from great human beings, and
Hmm.
you can augment that with your AI and stuff like that. And then the other thing to know is, if you knew that how much you're a biocomputer and you're programmable, if everyone understood how the system is programming you, you would be able to be above the system.
Hmm.
That's what I do. See, I can break you out of the matrix. The matrix, it's very, very easy. Like Bruce Lipton says, the Jesuits knew it over 600 years ago. They used to say, give me the boy till 7 and I'll give you the man, because they understood the subconscious mind is programmed during the first 6 years.
Hmm.
And that will give you the adult. Now, the beauty of it is all of that is changeable.
Hmm.
If it wasn't changeable, I'd be out of a job. But if you understand the system is not your friend. And if you know that, then you can um, select your education, select your influences, and you will not be your perceptions will not be flavored and controlled like the COVID thing. All
Yeah.
they did, I remember at Ivor Chandler School when I'm 67, folks. When I was in what would it be, grade 4 at Ivor Chandler School back then, I remember distinctly the class where they're teaching us about pandemics, and that everybody would have to be quarantined and get vaccinated. That was that's when how many years ago that was already in place. So what they've done, see, is generation after for decades, they've educated generations about pandemics, epidemics, viruses, and vaccines. They it, it's all in here, and what you have to do. Then all they do when the COVID nonsense began, and by the way, I'm able to completely eradicate COVID. I've done that for many people. Yeah, it's children's play. But anyway, but all they did was initiate the stimulus, and it turns on the program. And then 99% of the whole world just complies. They just comply. That's really how easy it is. See, and I just gave a lecture the other day, made a video on how you control the populace. Populace collectives are run by emotions, and then images, and then if they use celebrities, every time you see a celebrity, it completely dummies down, because there's a thing called assigned credibility. If Mr. Big Shot actor says it's okay to make love to little 9-year-old girls, and he says it's okay, all of a sudden it's okay. to a huge population, number of people who admire this guy. If he says that, they use that stuff with cognitive warfare. If you want something to understand, go on Google and look up cognitive warfare. I can undo warfare. It's very sophisticated and it's very subtle. It's like that movie, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks that's a comedy. That's not a comedy. What are you looking at? You're looking at a man who, as a man, is the village idiot, humiliated, a buffoon, incapable of making decisions for his own kids, unless he dresses like a lady. And then he's instantly credible, smart, and intelligent. That is a direct stab at the programming that wipes out all of the young guys now. Very hard now, especially in North America, for a boy to become a man. That's all by design. And people don't know that. I'll bet you Robin Williams didn't know he was being used in manipulation, because everyone just thinks that's a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's cognitive warfare, using a famous actor, changing the role, which changes the perception, and it's subtly programming the mind. But see, if you don't understand this stuff, you become the victim. You become the victim. Like when you're a young boy and you or a young lady, you want to get a job. And they teach you you're real lucky in today's competitive world if they hire you. And I remember when I was a young kid, I put my hand up, I said, hey, bud, they're lucky if they hire me. They are lucky if they hire you, because they'll be making millions of dollars because you're on their staff.
Mm-hmm.
But see, you have to reframe, and you won't reframe if you're just a victim of the programming. Make sense?
Yeah, just blew my mind away. Well, Dr. G, this has been an absolute pleasure. This has been awesome. Do you have any last remarks, anything else for everybody listening?
Yeah, if you get a chance, come on in and see me. I can, whatever it is you need help with, that's what depth healing is designed to do it. And here's the trick, folks. Every month I do 2 collectives. Now the collectives are morphic field physics, because it's a group. The bigger the group, the more power there is. Now those things are only $50. I do 2 a month, and they're done in a serial design each year, so that there's an internal evolution for your consciousness and for your life. And I did that way so that it's affordable, because a lot of my clients have a terrible time. Their finances is one of their biggest problems. Now, all you do is go to my website, and it's that automated system, and you just look for the collective, and understand the collectives are like an island, and they're not. They're all entangled. Collectives are like, if you have an onion,
Mm-hmm.
a collective is a horizontal, like I'm turning a big page, horizontal page. If I have, there's a limit on the collectives of 100 people. If I have 100 people, that's 100 times 40 million bits per second for 7 years, for first 7 years, or up to the age of 7, times 100 relative to the question, every question we ask. So what happens is, when I do these huge, massive, sweeping clearings, I have an exponential amount of information to uncover stuff that might be buried in you that's so deep a regular session won't find it, because what you're not ready to face is faceable in this other person that's part of the collective. So it shows up in the field. Then if you see me privately, that's a vertical die. So the collectives reveal things and heal things. And the privates, that's where we go deep into you directly to heal. And then every month I do a full moon Seva ceremony. Those are free. Now, in the Seva ceremony at the full moon, I don't do any healing at all. It's specifically to connect you with God, your God, nobody else's God, your God, or if you need, if you don't have an idea of an angel or Jesus or a God of any kind, that's fine. Divine doesn't care, and you can just relate to the universe. Doesn't matter. What I do is I have empowerments to act as the link up. When I act as the link up, all of the people assembled for the ceremony are conjoined. When we're all conjoined, we have an amplified voice to the universe. The trick with collectives, everybody must be there at the same time with the same intention.
Mm-hmm.
So what people do, it's you just log on, it's all free, and before that, you create prayers. Your prayers will be answered. The way you make the prayer, you make it like a thank you letter. You can express the problem you have, but you have to tell the divine what is your solution. And you write it as if you have it now. And then I will be doing it's a formal ceremony. And at a given point in time, I'll say, now pick up your prayer and read it out loud. And we give you time. And that prayer is received. Then you take those prayers after the ceremony and you fold it and you keep it. You don't throw that away. And the only thing that we can't tell you with the divine is if it's a sincere prayer, it will be answered. We just don't know when. We don't know when. We don't know how. But it will be answered if it's a sincere prayer. We do two fundamental prayers. The first one for you, and the second one to save the world. Because the world needs saving. If we have a big enough group, the larger the way the universe works, it works on morphic fields. And so you think of that as the biggest voice. Remember I told you the universe only has one word, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if the biggest group of people on the earth want war, the universe says, okay. If the biggest group says we want love and peace, the universe says, okay. That's how it works. That's how it works in your cellular community. About 50 to 100 trillion cells makes your body temple. And whatever the primary frequency is, that's what your body temple will give you. Because it's its own universe. And then, so the full moon Seva is a free service that I do for the divine for you, so that you can make a stronger bond with the divine. The stronger your bond with the divine, the stronger your grace. If you access the flow of grace, no problem. No problem. And the divine has never been so accessible. The golden age has begun. Kali Yuga is either stopped or in the last throes of stopping. So Kali Yuga is the ugliest of all ages. We call the Iron Age. That's why you see all the calamities all over the globe, geophysical calamities, human calamities, all kinds of calamity. That's because Kali Yuga is ending and the golden age has begun. It's small. It has an epicenter in India consisting of 300 people who are all living in an exalted level of enlightenment, much, much, much greater than Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle is a real enlightened person. So the golden age has begun, and the iron age or Kali Yuga is finally either stopped. I'm waiting for official word on that, or it's very close to stopping. So we're in a massive transition right now. And unfortunately, at least in my opinion, unfortunately, the golden age is going to be dependent on AI being married to the quantum computer. And I'm not happy about any of that, but we won't talk about that. There's a good side to that,
Yeah.
and there is a not good side. So me being sort of, I always work with military, and I'm a fighter, so I tend to
Yeah.
think about the stuff I don't want to know. So all of that's going on. Get in to see me, go to depthhealing.org. I got all kinds of, oh, by the way, the full moon ceremony still has full power as long it's because we put it right on YouTube, Depth Healing YouTube. As
Mhm.
long as the moon is full, then you have full power for that ceremony. Just as long as you do it in a sacred fashion, because the divine, if it's not sacred, it won't be acknowledged. No matter what anybody tells you, if you ever want to see sacredness and you see real sacred ceremonies, they're enormously formal. So you do that according to you, make it be well bathed in a nice, quiet, respectful place with your body posture respectful, and you do the full moon saber, present your prayers, and you have full power. When you see me do healings, I don't have, because I don't have any personal power. So my work doesn't carry, you have to be live with me if I'm doing a session.
Mhm.
Okay. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. And for everybody listening, I will put Dr. G's link in the description of this episode. So you can click on it down below. You can check out the collective. You can check out his website. And this has been amazing. Thank you, Dr. G. Thank you for joining me.
It's my real pleasure. And God bless all of you.
Of
All of you.
course. And for everybody listening, catch you next time on Simply Satisfied. And remember, as always, keep smiling and keep striving. And I'll catch you guys next time.
Bye bye.